car that might be quick one year is almost superseded the next year, and what we're seeing is the rise of the McLarens. But the Ginetta G55 looking very strong, Aston Martin Vantage, and the Porsche Cayman that was very much at the sharp end last year, having to fight to earn its keep at this stage. And the growth of GT4, and don't forget GT4 leads to GT3, but certainly in terms of manufacturer interest, there is a lot more stuff coming into GT4 this year. And the GT4 European Series split into the Northern Cup. We're watching this is the second round. The opening race was at Misano, and the Southern Cup had its debut at Nogaro over the Easter weekend, and some of the teams will be entering both the Northern and Southern Cups, but certainly with 31 cars coming out to play in the Northern Cup, it just shows the growth of GT4 racing. More cost effective than GT3, and for some of these drivers a step towards a GT3 career, maybe next year or the year after. Not just the drivers and the teams, though, also hoping to step their way up, and it's great to have them on the support programme for the Blancpain GT Series Sprint Cup here at Brands Hatch. And for a lot of these drivers, this was their first sighting of the epic, sort of almost age-worn Grand Prix circuit at Brands Hatch. Many drivers accustomed to the Indy circuit around the pits and paddock, but it's the magical sector that goes out through the woods at the back of the circuit that really captures the driver's imagination. The shot there showing the field getting a heat into their tyres, but very close together. Maybe a little more space is required through Stirlings and then down through Clearways and towards Clark Curve, where they come onto the start-finish straight. Number 3 Porsche Cayman, one of the cars expected at the front end. Alessandro Giovanelli and Kevin Rossell, and certainly a handful of cars actually even coming into the pit lane. But it's very, very busy. 31 cars coming out to qualify. This session is going to run in 3 bites: 20-minute section, 10-minute section, 20-minute section. And the Sin, the one and only Sin in the race, just being passed. That's down Pilgrim's Drop under the bridge, and then the corner in the background is Stirling's, is Hawthorne. What a great corner. Not named after Mike Hawthorne actually, but the farmer who owned the fields around that section of the circuit was a Mr. Hawthorne, so he gets his name on that corner of the circuit. Car 100 went very well this morning in the hands of Charlie Robertson from Ginetta Cars, the G55, sharing with Tom Hibbert this weekend. Charlie was the driver setting the pace early on, waiting for the first flying laps to be clocked up, and certainly looks as though Charlie Robertson may be the first of those, but at this point still looking as though he's trying to get heat into his tyres. I can see no waved yellow flags, but what he has in front of him, in front of that Ginetta number 100, is a clear stretch of track. In fact, the next car ahead of him as he comes up to the start finish straight now, he's going to come across a slow KTM. We can just see it drifting down the hill, trickling down the hill from Druids. Now it's got going again, tucked in behind one of the Maseratis, but for Charlie Robertson it's clear all the way up to Druids and then all the way down to Graham Hill ahead of him, so he's not going to be tripped up by traffic. And let's see if he can start to wind it up. Now, fastest of all at the moment is the 222 Nicky Leutwiler, sharing a Porsche Cayman from TFT Racing. Later in the session his teammate Ander Villarino will get in on the act, but Charlie Robertson's second fastest at the moment. Looking at Charlie turning into Surtees, where you start to use a gradient. You can see him coming up over the crest. It looks much more over the crest, over the curb. Actually carry on rising to about this point, then you start to go into Pilgrim's Drop, down under the bridge, then you start flipping up the other side, Hawthorne Hill leading up into Hawthorne's, and then the wonderful stretch of circuit around the Grand Prix loop that goes out to the next corner with another blind entry. Blind on the way into Hawthorne, blind on the way into Westfield. You can see the trees ahead of you, eventually you start turning right, and you hope you don't clip the curb on the inside. That can throw you to the outside of the circuit. But Charlie Robertson looking very neat. Fastest foot time in the first third of the lap. The second third of the lap about to be completed. There's Sheen Curve come out of Stirling's. We'll see if he gets 2 purples times. Yes, he does, just as he goes into Stirling's. In fact, that's the sector time just before the corner. The Sim clattering the curbs behind him. It looks as though Charlie Robertson will be going top, but he's 1.2 seconds at the moment down on the ultimate pace. But with 2 purple times on the screen, Charlie ought to go top and depose the 222 Porsche Cayman. What will his lap mark be? 1 minute 33.186, so he's topped by 2.2 seconds. Nothing a very well balanced car in the hands of a great racing driver can do, particularly helped by having a lovely clear stretch of circuit ahead of him. Here comes the Sin behind. That's being chaired this weekend by brother and sister Bianca Anton and her brother Eduard, a couple of young Romanian racers. The Sapphire Car Motorsport Sin. Aston Martin is very popular in this championship. Number 62, one of a couple from Academy Motorsport, Will Moore and Matt Nicol-Jones going out around the circuit. Combination of pros and AMs in this series, and the 62 crew very much one of the pros, and they ran right at the front end of the championship. 61, that was great out on the circuit. We didn't see that one at Misano for the opener. That's Mike Hart and Dave Robinson in the sister car, the sister Academy Motorsport. Aston Martin clipping the curb, Hart there, but not too badly at Stirling's. So, at the top of the time charts, it's Charlie Robertson, Nicky Leutwiler. Number 11 is in third place at the moment, and that is Edward Anton, but with being 2 seconds off the output pace, you feel that is going to be picked off. So that's a very good time from Edward Anton. That puts him third fastest. They weren't near the pace in the Sin at Misano, but this time around, in the second round of the European GT4 series, the Northern Cup, going well. The 61 Aston Martin, good lap there, into 7th place, so that was a very tidy little performance there from us. This is Dave Robinson on the timing screen, but I saw Hart on the graphic. Now the 33 McLaren, Bullet Racing and Race. Stephen Patrick, based in Spain, and Andy Merrick, ex-Works driver, and Merrick was absolutely mighty in the opening stages of the opening round. Listed as having Stephen Patrick on board at the moment. Car being looked after by long-time team chief, particularly in the days of Formula 3, so strong in the British Series, Dave Price of Dave Price Racing. Ran a young chap called Nigel Mansell once, I seem to believe. New driver in second place, new combination, the number 8 crew, Ecris Motorsport. Max Cobalt has put in a lap, 1.1 seconds down on Charlie Robertson. Nicky Leutwiler in third. Now it's starting to change up into fourth place. The number 1 crew, Jörg Wiebahn, course champion in the past in the GT4 European Series, reigning champion. 33, trying to see where that is on the timing screens. Not in the top 20 at the moment. It's Charlie Robertson, Max Cobalt, Nicky Leutwiler, and now a new face in fourth place, Keith Vishaw. It's Saber Moore, the Hungarian driver, in his McLaren in fourth fastest. Stephen Patrick learning his craft in that 570S, certainly that's becoming an increasingly popular car in the GT4 various series around Europe. There's a different livery, that's one of 2 from it's one of Las Morris Racing's entry here this weekend, number 9, being shared by Luke Brahms and Duncan Heisman. That's down with Luke Brahms, father of the series promoter Max Brahms, and he's down in 19th place, so needs to find a fair bit of time, 5 and a bit seconds. The car does look absolutely fantastic though, as it tries to close in on the Aston Martin ahead of it. Very much like the sort of Dutch racing orange with the blue and green stripes on the side. Now, what you don't want to be is in a stream of cars when you're trying to qualify. Now we're seeing a 3-car stream coming under the bridge into clearways. Just in behind the McLaren we're looking at, the next group of cars is a trio. Any more improvements at the front? Yes, suddenly number 62 has moved up to third place. That's Academy Motorsport, Will Moore in his Aston Martin. So Aston Martin's going well. The teammates from Academy in third and 13th places at the moment. Time's changing quick and fast, but Will Moore, he knows his car very well indeed. Well, now, that's nothing in comparison to Daniel Juncadella's vault over the curbs and save in the middle of the circuit out of Stirling's in the Blancpain GT series, but still a moment that Will Moore will remember. The 144 Aston Martin, that was running just ahead of him, has got it all rather wrong and taken a different line out, well, into Druids and then back out again. 144, not getting it right. Generation AMR Super Racing, that was James Holder, I believe, and Matthew George will be taking over. Let's have a look. The Las Morris McLaren diving up the inside. And that caught it well. I can only presume the Aston Martin turned in and the McLaren decided to go up the inside. Anyhow, no real damage done. A lap. Let's hope there are no flat spots on the tyre of the 144 Aston Martin. Little unfortunate there. Don't believe there's any contact now. Jörg Wiebahn has been going very well in the number 1 Porsche Cayman. See a sister car chasing it over the hill, but he's down in 10th place at the moment. Not so long ago he was up near the sharp end. Target time 1 minute 32.4 set by Charlie Robertson. No one close to that. Charlie actually parked up in the pits at the moment, so confident is he with the form. The first of the 3 qualifying sectors coming to an end fairly shortly. In the final 5 minutes, it's 20 minutes. It's a middle sector of 10 minutes and then the final sector of 20 minutes. Will that time of 1 minute 32.416 seconds stand all the way to the end? 22 starting to try and make some progress up the timing screens, but the Allied Racing Jan Kasperlik Porsche Cayman not doing so to the extent he'd like. He's ahead of Jörg Wiebahn in a similar car, a similar Porsche Cayman, but only 9th fastest overall, 2 and a bit seconds off the ultimate pace. The Porsche Cayman's very popular, but they're not at the sharp end of the field at the moment. It's the Ginetta at the top of the charts, the number 8 Max Cobold Extras Motorsports BMW M4 second, and Will Moore and his Aston Martin in third, and then 222 Nicky Leutwiler. He's in the top Porsche Cayman, 1.3 seconds off the fastest lap of all, but certainly with Charlie Robertson in that Ginetta, 6/10 and a little bit more faster than Max Cobolt's BMW M4. That's looking very, very strong indeed. 22, is there an improvement? We have been watching Jan Kasperlik not so far around this lap, and neither is there improvement. Well, there is actually in the first sector of the 3 from the car he's chasing, the number 1 Porsche Cayman, but only really just fighting to get into or stay in the top 10 runners. 22, is he slightly being tripped up by the number 1 Porsche Cayman? Don't think so, but it looks like the Porsche Cayman number 1 will improve his time overall. No, it doesn't. In fact, stays very close to it, but rather bottling themselves up. Yes, Jan Kasperlik almost half a second off his ultimate pace there. Now, I haven't seen so much of one of the Equipe Vershaw entries. That's the Equipe Vershaw McLaren. Casper Moore was doing a good job in that. Matthew Graham on board. Changed the caption. He's the number 1 driver, so that does make sense. So Matthew Graham, yeah, he'll hand over to Saba Moore. Timing screen says one thing, says it's Saba Moore, and the other screen, the TV graphic, says it's Graham, Matthew Graham. But either way, it's up at the sharp end of the field in a 5th position overall. Handful of the cars still sitting in the pit lane. In fact, most of the quick ones. The cars in 1st and 2nd place, the 100, Ginetta and the number 8 BMW sitting in the pit lane, all looking very calm. Chance to see the 93 car. One of the Maseratis in the field. That's one from Scuderia Viorba course. That's Manuela Gosta. So she's driving that single-handedly this weekend. The car with the pink stripes and the pink mirrors. Does sound great, that McLaren. Maserati Gran Turismo MC, GT4 trim, wonderful engine note. 26 trying to pick up the pace. We know we got a Ginetta at the top of the charts. One car that's just improved its lap time, suddenly moved up into 6th position overall, is the number 4, Energy by ART. Alain Ferte, you might recognise that name, driving a Porsche Cayman. Of course, he was a top runner in Formula 3000. In fact, even possibly not quite long enough to go to be racing in Formula 2, but great to have him back on board. He started doing endurance racing again relatively recently. Car number 26 crosses the start-finish line, CMR, that's Niels Stevenart, and he'll hand over to Sohail Ayari, another ex-Formula 3000 racer. What I saw him lurking in the paddock. The Street Art Racing Aston Martin, always a popular car. Jerome Demey and Denis Dupont, they took some honours last year. But today that number 7 Aston Martin not in the top 20 or 007. Looks great, but they'd rather see a quick time on the timing screens. Hasn't come their way. Q1 almost at an end. Quite a few cars, about 8 cars parked in the pit lane at the moment, but that should still, if my maths is correct, leave 23 out on the circuit. So very much gives a chance for drivers to say, he ruined my lap, got in the way. But actually most of the drivers breaking a good fist, staying clear of those near them. We saw that Aston Martin going for a little bit of a rotation, the 144 generation AMR entry. But that got underway again. Street Art Racing Aston Martin making its own space out on the circuit. Checkered flag is now out at the end of Q1. Does sound good, that Aston Martin, going through Sheen Curve, comes up out of Dingledale through Sheen Curve. This is the corner, Stirling, you have to be so careful. A lot of drivers have clouted the curb on the inside, but it's the curb on the outside, the right-hand side of the picture, that has been catching them out, because if they ride it, it then drops away onto the grass. The cars sometimes bottom, but certainly they snap left. And we've had some big saves, but also a couple of big shunts here at Brands Hatch. It is a circuit with a reputation, and And we think it brings the best out of the very best of the drivers to manage to negotiate, particularly the Grand Prix loop. So there is that checkered flag. And at the end of Q1, still got a few more cars to come through and take the checkered flag. We have Charlie Robertson top with a lap of 1 minute 32.416 seconds. Puts him 0.6 of a second clear of Max Cobalt in one of the two Ecris BMW M4s. And third fastest, Academy Motorsport, number 62, Will Moore. Just almost exactly a second down on the ultimate pace. It was a late move into the top 10 in 8th fastest overall, number 40. Brookspeed International Motorsport, Chase Owen, sharing his Porsche Cayman with Freddie Hunt. They didn't have the best of races in the opening race at Misano. We saw that 74 KTM moving slowly on the circuit, but that came good and actually ended up, we didn't know if it had a problem at Druids, but anyhow, that moved up to qualify 7th at the end of Q1. Number 74, Cedric Freiberghaus, he'll be handing that over to Mads Siljehaug. Very strong pairing in the KTM crossbow. Not as many crossbows here this weekend as we sometimes have. I think we had 8 at the opening round. But there, Charlie Robertson and Tom Hibbert, 0.6 of a second clear of the rest, and that looked very easy for Charlie Robertson. Max Cobalt, very good run to be second fastest in the Ecris M4. Will Moore, lots of chassis variety, sharing with Matt Nicol-Jones at Aston Martin, a second off the ultimate pace. Lots of Porsche Caymans, and the best of them so far, Nicky Leutwiler in 4th place overall, just ahead of the number 10 Equipe Verschoor McLaren, and so far it's been Matthew Graham at the wheel, 1.5 seconds down. So really strong run there from Charlie Robertson. That's qualifying 1 out of the way. Very soon indeed we'll be going to qualifying 2, and then it will all end in the final 20-minute dash to the flag to see who will come out on pole position. Pole position, so important at Brands Hatch. Fabulous circuit to drive on, but very difficult to make an overtaking manoeuvre. And that will be in the back of the minds of a lot of these drivers. As you can see, those down to about 20th position, getting 3 seconds or so down on the ultimate pace. But for a lot of these drivers, it's their first sighting of the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. There's a lot to learn. The weather's been kind so far today. Bit of a cold wind, but track conditions have been very good indeed. We saw a few drivers almost getting caught out around the back of the circuit, particularly coming out of Stirling's. But there we have 30 of the 31 cars that were due to go out for qualifying, set qualifying times, but unfortunately number 23 with Romain Sarrazin sharing the Sean Walkinshaw Racing Nissan with Charlie Fagg, or Romain Sarrazin's due out in the next session. That 370Z Nissan did not set a time. So the cars parked nose in towards their pit garages, waiting to get going away. It will be in about 1 minute's time, 1.5 minutes time, until Q2 will kick off, and then we'll see if Charlie Robertson can be toppled in the Ginetta cars G55, and it certainly looked very strong. And looking back at the highlights, you can see there's one way of going over the curbs. It's one of the Ginettas out of Stirling's, and certainly the McLaren 570S is an increasingly popular car. A lot of them running just a little bit wide down through Paddock Hill bends. That's happened for years. And there, the 9 McLaren, I think, tried to go up the inside of the 144 Aston Martin from Generation AMR. That didn't lead to too much damage, but a little spin for the Aston Martin. Street Art Racing 007 Aston Martin looks great, but wasn't delivering the sort of times that the team would have expected. The best time was delivered by the number 100 Ginetta cars, G55 Ginetta, and certainly in the hands of Charlie Robertson, that looks very potent indeed. Set his fast lap, job done, brought it into the pits, and then Tom Hibbert, fellow British driver, will be taking over from him for Q2. So quick turnaround. You can see some of the drivers either staying on board or the replacement, the number 2 driver, getting ready to take over for Q2. So expect a scramble towards pit exit very soon indeed. GT4 European Series, the Northern Cup grows and grows. The Southern Cup making its the fact we've got a Northern Cup and a Southern Cup just stresses the growth of the championship. A couple of years ago, what would have been the full field might have been 16 to 20 cars. Just in this Northern Cup alone, we've got 31 cars still here at Brands Hatch. And the Southern Cup had a 20-something down at Nogaro, so this is a real growth. And for a lot of the cars trying to get down to pit exit very quickly, a couple of the Maseratis from Scuderia Viorba course and trying to get their way down towards pit exit ready. The green flag is waved. In fact, the first car out will be the number 1 Porsche Cayman from Pro Sport Performance. Jörg Wiebahn did the first session, so it could be Nikolai Moller-Madsen taking over. We'll see when the timing screens fire into life. But just look at that queue of cars coming out. That's enough on their own, but at least half of them are still sitting in front of their pit garages, being wheeled into the fast lane of the pit lane, and they will come out to play. But for a lot of these drivers, they know not only do they want to set a time, they've got to make space for themselves out on the circuit. Slower driver, just 1 second of your pace can disrupt you, block you. You've got to know who's around you, how likely they're to be fast or not. So the number 3 Pro Sport Performance Cayman, Kevin Rossell, the Danish racer, should now be at the wheel of that, moving out to get around a car he reckons would be slower than him. They're jostling for position. Maybe some of the wise ones who are confident in their performance will just wait for the first lot to be half away around the lap, and then they'll come out of the pit. Certainly the second fastest car in the first session, number 8 Ekris. BMW sitting, still not being pushed back into the fast lane of the pits. It's down by pit exit, but not yet come out onto the circuit. So it is Nikolai Moller-Madsen in the number 1. Porsche we wonder about there is it should be presumably Ricardo van der Ende about to go in that. Max Cobalt set the first time. There is the fastest car in the first session. Now, is it Charlie Robertson on board? Has it been handed over to Tom Hibbert? I think we expect Hibbert to be on the board number 100. So drivers, particularly if they've just done the driver change, will be just getting their sight of that pin, going, yeah, I did the practice session this afternoon and the track was fine, yeah, no oil down around here. They'll see a few new lurid skid marks out of this corner, particularly from Daniel Juncadella, who had a massive save in the qualifying session that preceded this for the Blancpain GT Sprint Series Sprint Cup. But I must say, that number 100 Ginetta does look very balanced indeed. Great car, the Ginetta G55. This one entered by Ginetta Cars, obviously to try and prove a point that they want to have their cars at the very front end of the GT4 field. Waiting for the first of the flying laps to come through onto the board. But the pace set in Q1 by the number 100 Ginetta, when in the hands, there it is now, going into Surtees and then up over the crest out into the country, but in the hands of Charlie Robertson that was a very potent tool indeed. Nikolai Moller-Madsen was one of the first drivers out of the pits in the number 1 Porsche Cayman. That has set the fastest first sector of all in this second session, because of course the clock counts back to nothing. It's all done session by session when it comes to whether a car is faster than its previous time or not. So the number 8 BMW Ekris BMW M4 now out onto the circuit there, trying to work its way around. Keep clear of the traffic, getting heat in the tyres. You can see out of Stirling, you can see that BMW M4 weaving away. The other cars have all done 1 lap more, so they should be coming up to racing, well, their racing speed, their qualifying speed more to the point. The 62 Aston Martin was very much at the top end. It was 3rd fastest, I believe, at the end of Q1. Waiting for those first flying laps to be delivered. Nikolai Moller-Madsen looking on a really good one, and Charlie Fagg in the one and only car that didn't set a qualifying time in Q1, the Sean Walkinshaw Racing 370Z Nissan, has got a purple sector time on his middle sector, so he could and his own best time in the front sector, but it goes to prove the car that was last could well get up towards being first. So first times on the board, 1 minute 36.4 for the number 22 entry. Jan Kasperlik started there. It's now in the hands of Timothy Stuppel, a fellow German racer. His Porsche Cayman top of the pile by 0.4 of a second from Nikolai Moller-Madsen in another Porsche Cayman. And 3rd fastest is another Porsche Cayman. So they didn't show brilliantly right on the ultimate pace in Q1, but in Q2, with their changeover driver, if you will, they're going very well indeed. 4th fastest, Pavel Lefterov in, that's 4 Porsche Caymans at the top, 5 Porsche Caymans. So it's all changing thick and fast, but it's Porsche Caymans coming good at the moment. But let's wait and see, particularly what the number 8 BMW can do, and also the number 100. In fact, that Tom Hibbert has just put that up into 7th place overall, but the times are going to change thick and fast. In fact, now we have a new name at the top. Number 74, it's in the KTM. It's the black one with the orange stripes on the side. Mads Siljehaug, Norwegian driver. In fact, it is the only KTM crossbow in the race for so long. KTM crossbows have really bolstered the GT4 European Series grids, but now one's going very well, but not fastest, because it was fastest, but now it's changed at the top. Number 69, TM Racing Organisation, Daniel Reimsen, now in the hands of Peter Turting. It's another Porsche Cayman, so they weren't that at the very sharp end in Q1. In Q2, definitely coming good. Just under 10 minutes remaining on the clock. Matt Nicol-Jones goes up to 5th place and immediately gets demoted as times change behind him. Nikolai Moller-Madsen now fastest, 1 minute 33.099 of a second. Tom Hibbert goes up to 5th, 1 minute 36.1. So, wow, quick times, 3 cars in the 1 minute 33s. Matt Nicol-Jones came through in, was it about 7th position? He's now down to 11th and he's 3.5 seconds off the ultimate pace. The ultimate pace has changed again. Number 10's gone top, now number 9. It's the McLarens coming to the top. Kwiatkowski suddenly toppled by Duncan Heisman. Fastest of all, 1 minute 32.470 seconds, the number 9. Las Moras Racing, there it is there, the McLaren 570S. So suddenly we had the Porsche Caymans at the top. They were the first out of the pit lane, so they got their first flying lap in. Their second flying lap was an improvement, but now it's the McLaren 570Ss that are very much in the hunt. There's 2 of them at the top. The number 9, the one we're looking at on screen, ahead of the number 10, but number 9 in the first part of this next lap, has he backed off? He's seen the traffic up ahead. Still 8.5 minutes remaining, but he's backed off on this lap. He wants track space. Doesn't want to catch up with that Maserati behind him. You can see he's really trying to open out the gap to enlarge it ahead of him. Now, Tom Hibbert, he got up to 5th place in the number 100. At the blink of an eye, he's down in 19th. It shows how the second flying lap for all of these drivers was a lot quicker. But the best thing, pink first sector, pink second sector, that means fastest of all. Not the driver's fastest lap on his own, well it is, because he's now fastest in the session, but overall the outright fastest first sector, the outright fastest second sector. And Tom Hibbert, will he get down into the 1 minute 31s even with that? 1 minute 32.073, 4/10 of a second quicker now than Duncan Heisman. But wow, that was really quite a lap, and he managed to keep himself clear enough of traffic too. Who's going to fight back? Oh dear, the number 1 Jörg Vibahn car handed over to Nikolai Moller-Madsen for the second part of the second, and that was fastest at one point, but unfortunately that's gone off at Druids at the top of the hill in the gravel on the exit. So those behind will have to look for yellow flags. You can see, yes, the symbol on screen, yellow flags are out there. That car is beached in the gravel at the top of the hill. So that run there from Tom Hibbert in the number 100 Ginetta maybe was absolutely at the perfect moment, because those behind him going around the lap will have to watch out for the yellow flags. They'll all have to slow down and watch their speed going into the Druid hairpin. There's number 100 Tom Hibbert. A very, very strong last lap. Is that marginally slow? Now it's waved red flag. The session has come to a halt. The drivers all responding very quickly, speedily to that wave. 7 minutes remaining on the clock. The clock has stopped. The session has been brought to a stop, and car number 3 has had one of its best laps deleted, and that was a car that was showing quite well out of the pits. That was Kevin Russell, in the Danish racer, in the number 3 Pro Sport Performance Porsche Cayman. So the driver of the number 1, the front end of the car smoking away, so clearly he understeered across the gravel into the tyre wall on the outside. Nikolai Moller-Madsen, oh yes, now we can see the damage. Oh, well, that's rather unfortunate. They've got 2 races tomorrow. Hopefully that can be repaired. But it was 6th fastest in Q2 when Q2 was brought to a halt. The red flags come out because that car is on the sort of halfway around, 2/3 the way around the corner. See the Danish flag on Nikolai's helmet. He's trying to explain. Well, we don't know if he was given a push up the rear, or just simply braked too late, carried too much speed, found himself on the outside of the circuit. But actually, looking at the level of damage, he's hit those tyres remarkably hard. So smoking away. Hopefully that's just hot body parts on the rubber, but I fear it could be more than that. The rescue crew there very quickly to pull that away. Obviously there's a fair bit of debris to be cleared up as well. So let's just run down the times, with Q2 having something of a hiatus. Tom Hibbert fastest in the Ginetta, number 100. Duncan Heisman second fastest, Las Moras Racing McLaren. Third fastest, it was late out onto the circuit, but Ricardo van der Ende in the number 8 Ecris BMW M4. Fourth fastest, Matt Nicol-Jones, the 62 Academy Motorsport Aston Martin. And number 10, another McLaren, that is Matthew Graham, Kwiatkowski McLaren. And then the car that we're looking at, Nikolai Moller-Madsen, was 6th fastest when the session was brought to a red flag. Now, of course, what we don't know was he pushed? Did he fall? Looking at the replay now to see what happens with Nikolai Moller-Madsen. He's, I think, flashed through already. We swing on his own, but that really is a strange one. He wasn't at the inside of another car and found himself on a bit of the track he didn't want, but maybe just trying something very different, but clearly not very successful up into Druids. Hairpin at the top of the hill. You've swept your way through Paddock Hill Bend with a blind entry. You've managed not to go off the circuit, but that's quite a hard one to work out with no one else around him, unless something broke on the car, which I find relatively unlikely. Porsche Cayman's very strong indeed. And I think he's going to have some explaining to the team, and certainly to Jörg Wiebahn, last year's champions, his teammate, that the number 1 Cayman isn't quite as pretty as it used to be. Very pretty car in normal trim, but as you can see, it crabs along with that front left wheel from the driver's point of view, dragging. I'm going to try and pull it clear off the track, across the track, and off the inside. That master's going to have to watch his toes. It's fairly unceremonious. It's being dragged off down the hill. They're going to put it so that you can go just behind the barriers. You can see those silver barriers. They will come to an end, and if they can put it in that little gap, mind you, how do you reverse a car that doesn't want to steer just on exit? I'd say that's fairly much out of the way there. We'll unhook it. So the session has stopped with 5 seconds more than 7 minutes on the clock. No further part will be taken by Nikolai Moller-Madsen, who's going to come on down the hill. So we were looking for Q1, Q2 and Q3. We don't know how the clock's going to run down through the course of those, but we certainly have one thing we can tell you: with fastest in Q1 and fastest in Q2, Charlie Robertson, and now Tom Hibbert in the number 100 Ginetta G55, entered by Ginetta Cars. We're still waiting for a restart. It's waiting for it to be confirmed. It could be any minute now, actually. Yeah, so in fact, just been confirmed on screen, 18, 19. That's now. So just waiting to see anybody. Yeah, the green flag is waved, but you know what? No takers as yet. There's still a bit of a traffic jam as cars reverse up towards pit entry. Once down this, and now they're all going out in uniform fashion into the fast lane, but it looks like one of the Porsche Caymans is going to nip down past those, and in fact, the number 9 McLaren getting squeezed by another Porsche Cayman down towards pit exit, but the first one out is from number 40. That's the Brookspeed International Chase Owen, and then Freddie Hunt Porsche Cayman. Where is that on the timing screens? Freddie Hunt, 10th place. It's going to be very, very rapid on the track to get your lap time in. Loads of Porsche Caymans leaving the pits. Just my commentary box is up in the top right-hand side of the picture, the hut on the roof of the hospitality suites, but out at the corner where the number 1 Porsche fell, McLaren got squeezed to the pit lane. Number 9, which is second fastest of all, Duncan Heisman, has used his experience to work his way past a few cars. Now he's got clear track ahead of him. Doesn't have to go terribly fast. The clear track is what he wants for the second lap. His first flying lap, so he's got to go up around the Grand Prix loop, bring himself back, and it looks as though the pit would have disgorged pretty much everyone else, so hopefully he won't have anyone slowly coming out into his path. The Porsche Cayman is trying to tuck in behind, but now's the point at which Duncan Heisman needs to start winding it up. He's just under 4/10 down on the pace set by Tom Hibbert in that number 100 Ginetta. He's got a very, very good chance next time around. Not this time, this is the outlap, to see if he can go better. Around the back part of the circuit, that's Hawthorne coming into Westfield. Fantastic dipping Westfield corner. Wow, the car looks like it hit the curb on the inside. You can see it bucking up the McLaren there, but Asperes Racing 570S McLaren has got 4 wheels on the circuit all over again. Through Sheen Curve, now coming up. Don't have to take too many risks. This is your outlap, and he's not. The veteran Dutch racer out towards the curves, towards the white line, not over the curves. The curves on the right of the picture having caught out so many of the runners. So it's Q1 and Q2. There was a 10-minute break in between. 20 minutes, 10-minute break, 20 minutes. And of course Q2 was interrupted, but the clock will stop with 7 minutes and 5 seconds on the clock. Big slide at the tail of the Duncan Heisman Asperes Racing McLaren. Very spectacular. Car looks like it's got a fair degree of balance, but Duncan very much pushing through Paddock Hill Bend, nice and tidy through Druids, down to Graham Hill Bend, never the corner it used to be. It used to be much more open, became tighter, and we've seen car after car going over the curbs on the exit. They will be starting to be pinged for that when it comes to the race, so they've got to learn to stay on the black stuff in the middle at the bottom of Graham Hill as they go onto Cooper Straight. So there was the clear lap, the clear track ahead of him that Duncan Heisman so wanted. And he's been fortunate enough to get in the number 9 McLaren. Target time, well, he wants to get into the 1 minute 31. So 1 minute 32.073 is the best on the clock. Best for that car, 1 minute 32.4. So quite a big ask to find 3 to 4 tenths of a second. But Duncan, there is a car up ahead of him, but I think it's far enough ahead not to trouble him. How quick are his times around this first part of the lap? Not that great. He's down on his best, so maybe it'll be the next time around. You can't always be sure he'll get clear track, but yeah, not looking really that dynamic over the curbs, and it shows on the clock. A couple of cars still sitting in the pits, including that number 8 BMW. Ricardo van der Ende sitting third fastest. He's only a tenth of a second quicker than Matt Nicol-Jones, but Matt is also in the pit lane, so maybe they don't feel they've got a great deal to prove. But those behind are not far back, and certainly the number 10 McLaren could have something to say. Very close indeed in 5th place. And again we see that's the Las Maras McLaren it's just not got the cornering it wants through Paddock Hill Bend. So we saw one of the first cars out of the pits for this restart, if you will. Freddie Hunt, here he is, number 40. Son of the 1976 Formula One world champion, who famously had the massive moments at the start at Paddock Hill Bend, the first corner of the circuit. And out of Surtees, Freddie Hunt just putting on a bit of a show over the curbs. Tricky corner. You want to carry as much speed as you can. It's a very difficult entry, but as he saw, a very difficult exit as well. Freddie over the curbs, 10th fastest he was a short while ago. He's now down to 11th. A couple of little improvements, but in fact, Matt Nicol-Jones has been pushed down one place because now the number 26 entry, CMR Ginetta, Neil Stevenart, showing with Soil Irie, but still shown as having Stevenart at the wheel, has gone 4th quickest. Finds another 2 thousandths of a second, and he will go 3rd fastest in the 26 entry. But right now it's all eyes on Freddie Hunt. We saw a slightly messy early part of the lap. Yeah, he hasn't improved on his previous marks, and certainly you feel the second sector of the lap would have been compromised by that moment over the curbing where he kicked up the dust on the exit of Surtees. Porsche Cayman does look very well balanced indeed, so maybe next time around, the target could be moving though. The fastest middle sector of all, set by the car that is fastest of all. Freddie Hunt, no improvement. And Tom Hibbert, now his middle sector of the lap. He should be coming into view any moment now from my commentary position in the number 100, Ginetta. Just waiting for it to come into view. It is coming into view. Will he improve on his mark of 1 minute 32.073? 1 minute 32.003. 7 hundredths of a second knocked off. He's now 0.467 of a second faster. There he is. Very, very tiny lap there. Not the best opening stint, but the second sector and the third sector, well, the second sector in particular, was where he did that damage and found those 7 hundredths of a second. And if he can link it all together, theoretical best, which is his best first sector, his best second and best third, not always done on the same lap, and had they been done, so it would be 1 minute 31.76. As it is, he 1 minute 32.033. So we'll 003. We'll let him off, but we quite like to see a 1 minute 31 just to put it on the board. But this lap not looking so quick. We're into the final minute before the checkered flag comes, and I think you can say that Tom Hibbert has backed off a little bit. Still not going to bring it home slowly. Who else is improving? Suddenly up into third. Duncan Heisman still in second place overall, and suddenly 56 is on the move. That's Tolman Motorsports with their McLaren. David Patterson started the first session, handed over to Joe Osborne, and Joe knows McLaren's very well indeed. He is up into third position, and I thought the Equipe Verschoor McLaren would start to make moves. And now we're still listening, having Matthew Graham on board there, sharing it with Zaba Moore. They are 4th fastest. Joe Osborne, 56. Grey McLaren doesn't look dramatic when it's standing still, but when driven at the sort of speeds that Joe Osborne can manage, looking very useful indeed. Has he got any best sector times? No, he hasn't. He's 3/4 of a second down on the ultimate pace. Can do one more lap. The checkered flag will come out now. Well, now, at the end of the qualifying session. So let's see, what was that lap from Joe Osborne? No, it was about 4 seconds off his best. Has he backed off? But was he just looking for track position? Just looking to see how much clear space he has ahead of him? Well, he's got half the distance down from... No, he's cruising down the hill from Druids towards Graham Hill Bend. I think he's decided session over. He could have done that one more flying lap, but might have got the message he's third fastest. I think he'll be very happy with that, and certainly his teammate David Patterson, the driver he's been developing for years, he's turned the short way in. I think he's decided he's already seen the checkered flag. So the 56, it wasn't a problem there for the 56. He should have been able to go on round. I think the others being waved into the back of the pits. Oh, now they're trying to pull them in. I thought a few of the cars still had a little bit more time on the clock, but the clock slightly lied. The gate is open. So yeah, we thought he could have continued, and the next car behind him. Yeah, so there could well be a problem. So he's pulled into a strange place right opposite my commentary position. Maybe he's just keen to get back to the paddock. He should have gone behind the paddock and then pulled off. Instead of turning left to Surtees, he should have turned right and come in to the top end of the pit lane. Anyhow, lights are flashing, indicators on, but on the number 100, with the number 56 McLaren, third fastest, but it was 100 that won the day in qualifying. That was the Tom Hibbert finished the job started by Charlie Robertson on an advantage over the number 9 McLaren of 0.467 of a second, and then another 0.3 back to that 56 McLaren we're looking at now. The lights are flashing. So Q1 20 minutes, Q2 20 minutes, 10 minutes in between. That is your lot. That's your 50 minutes. So pole position has been taken by the number 100 Ginetta, Tom Hibbert, sharing and finishing off the job started by Charlie Robertson. So GT4 will come out to play tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon. They have 2 races here at Brands Hatch. The third and fourth rounds, if you will, at the second meeting for them this season. So Charlie Robertson, Tom Hibbert, 1 minute 32.003. They'd have loved to get into the 1 minute 31s just for bragging rights, but nearly half a second up on Luke Brahms and Duncan Heisman in the Las Maras Racing McLaren. David Patterson and Joe Osborne, Tolman Motorsport McLaren, into third place. Then Matthew Graham, Saba Moore, still within the top second. Number 10, their McLaren in fourth place from Equipe Verschoor. Max Cobalt, Ricardo van der Ende did very little running, but very competitive in the Ecris BMW M4. Then Neil Stevenart and Soil Irie, the number 26 entry, really came on strong towards the end from CMR in the second of the Ginetta G55s. Will Moore and Matt Nicol-Jones, their Aston Martin, best of the Aston Martins, in seventh place. And the Holder and George in a very, very close, really effectively you take away the top runner, the Ginetta G55 number 100, and it's very close. Look, 1.5 seconds down takes you to 16th place on the grid. Red on the screens means they're AM runners, and we see them coming in towards the tail end, just outside the top 20. But in 21st position, Alain Ferté, race winner in Formula 3000 so long ago, showing with Gregard de Moustier. Great to have other names coming into this series. But we had 31 runners who set times, so everybody got out to play. So the car that didn't set a time in Q1 has in Q2. So all 31 runners all set to come out for the first of their 2 races tomorrow on the Grand Prix circuit at Brands Hatch. But bragging rights right now with the number 100 Ginetta cars, G55. It's been a great day at Brands Hatch. It stayed dry. It has been windy, slightly cool when the wind blew, but some very, very strong qualifying runs. So let's take a look at the highlights of qualifying. We had two sessions with a 10-minute break in between. Early on, we had David Patterson out in the Tolman Motorsport McLaren. Will Moore really pushing on in the 62 Academy Motorsport Aston Martin, and the number 9 Las Maras Racing McLaren, using the curbs and more, but 100 was the car that really went to set the pace. Charlie Robertson on a flyer, and then we don't know what happened up at Druids. The number 1 Pro Sport Performance Porsche Cayman brought out the red flag with its little moment, well, quite a big moment, up at Druids. Freddie Hunt kicking up the dust in his 40 McLaren. 56, Joe Osborne got up to third place, pulled off at the end, but it was Tom Hibbert who took pole position. So starting the first race tomorrow, Ginetta cars on pole position.